Pancho podcast. My name is Pancho Wallace, and we're real excited today. I'm real happy to have Michael Cardenas with me. Thanks for being on with me, Michael.
Thank you, Pancho. Thank you, my childhood friend from Yokohama, Japan, right?
Yeah,
Thank
we've
you.
known
Thank you
each
for asking
other.
me.
Yeah, we've known each other since 1973. For those of you who are counting out there.
Don't give
So,
our age away.
so a little bit about the Pancho podcast. Really, we like to speak to people about their inspirational journeys through life, lessons they've learned, people that have had impact on them, and where that's brought them. And everyone has a unique story, and Michael has a really unique story. It's really cool. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it. So, Michael, what do you want people to know about you?
About me, wow. Well, you know what? As you just said, that I was born and raised in Japan, Punch. My dad was in the Navy. I'm a military brat. And you know what? I think being half Mexican, my dad's from Taos, New Mexico. My mother's from Japan. Met in Japan, and that was during the Vietnam War era, man. And you know what? My diversified background allowed me to become, who I am now. But my diversity allowed me to be a diverse business guy, and that's something about myself that my background, my upbringing allowed me to be who I am today.
Yeah, so let's look at that a little bit. So, I like we just said, I met you in 1973. We lived in Japan, and I like you, I have a mother from another country. So my mother's from Spain, and I live there. So that time in Japan. So what were the kind of cool memories, and what do you remember about Japan growing up? I mean, you don't have to go
Well,
in anything like, none of the arrests or anything like that,
yeah,
but
right, right. But remember, man, Pancho, we're blessed, man. I mean, every day, Pancho, I think about it and think about growing up in Japan and how we were able to. I mean, growing up in Japan, Pancho, being a military brat, red, white, and blue, man. We never learned. I never, discrimination, racism, none of that ever came into play, man. We lived in a yellow submarine when we lived in Japan. And as I grew up in life, I had that philosophy all in my life. I was always, open-minded. I was able to morph into when I moved to the States, in '77. I came here my junior in high school, and whether I wanted to be with the jocks or the stoners or the surfers or this. I was able to morph into my group, and I ended up hunkering down with the sports guy. And I think that was due to my upbringing in Japan, being allowed to be diversified from the background, the humbleness of being in Japan.
yeah, so you moved to the US, and where did you move to, and then what did you end up doing through high school and then afterward?
Moved to the States in '77, my junior in high school, to San Diego, California, sunny San Diego,
Right.
and went there. Went to high school there. I was not. I was a 105-pound, wrestler. So I couldn't play football over there. In Japan, that was huge. But
Right, right.
coming here, 105 pounds. I wrestled in high school, and and that was an individual sports. As we grew up, Pancho, remember we played basketball. And by the way, you were a great basketball player, man. You were like the little tank, man, just rolling over people. But
Yeah.
we grew up. A lot of our upbringing, Pancho, was due to our background of the military, but also sports. And I came here and I hunkered down with the sports guys. And so I wrestled, and I also played baseball. I was a pretty good baseball player. And, that allowed me to be team oriented. And yet I learned how to do the individualistic sports, like being, the wrestling thing. That's all individual. But I came here my junior in high school, went to school here and in San Diego, and then I tried junior college for about 10 years. That didn't work. And
The 10-year plan, huh?
I did, but I did go to chef school. I was working at the time in Beni-Hana in San Diego, and one of the chefs goes, "Man, Mike, you're really talented, a chef. Why don't you take yourself serious and stop half-assing in school?" And so I looked at him, and he looked at me, and why don't you go to chef school? And I go, really? He goes, yeah. There's a Beni-Hana chef school. This one of the last classes I went to was a group of was the Beni-Hana Chef School. So I applied for that. I was the 7 people got selected throughout the United States back in 1981, and I went to the Beni-Hana Chef School in New Orleans, Louisiana. Courtesy of Rocky Aoki, who I respect to this day. God bless his soul. So I went to the Beni-Hana Chef School in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I think that's where I started getting a little serious with my life. I realized that maybe this and back then you were either being a cook, it's not it's like I wasn't Heidi Flighty on my feet, but I enjoyed the passion of cooking.
Now, real quick, now who was this guy that gave you that nugget of leadership to like, Mike, man, clean it up, dude?
It was a guy in the kitchen, a guy I
wow.
remember to this day. His name was George. This guy was a veteran Beni-Hana guy that said, "Hey, man, don't half-ass things in life." And sure enough, man, I took it serious to my heart, and I went to chef school in New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah, he's a mentor to this day.
Cool, awesome. So you went through chef school, and then you were in the Beni-Hana system, or
I was in
one of the restaurants, or
yeah, I was in the Beni-Hana system. Worked there for 3 years. Flipping shrimp in my pocket, and
I attended one of those shows, man. I remember you were good, man, no question. And Mike,
yeah.
I'll just say what I remember. You were not just good with the knives and the show that Beni-Hana does. You were engaging with the customers.
Exactly.
You were fun. You were positive. You had fun with the customers. So that's I think a big part of you, and that's what I think when I think of you. It's like you're not just someone who's a restaurateur and a chef and all this and a businessman, but you're very engaging and you're fun, and you're people want to hang out and BS with you. So I just putting that in there, man.
Yeah, thank you. You know what? And that's that's called service or hospitality from the heart. And I learned that I've had that. Remember my dad in the Navy was a ship serviceman. Ship serviceman is the barber shop, the dry cleaner, the grocery stores, and he was a serviceman. And I never thought about it until he passed away, but just recently. Where did I get this hospitality thing, man? And you know what? My dad was always that engaging guy, that nice guy, that fun guy at the grocery store, at the barber shop. And you know what? And sure enough, man, I don't know if it's in my DNA, and it probably is in my DNA, but that engagingness, that sincereness from the heart, the genuine hospitality, that just comes from the DNA thing, Pancho. And so therefore I did the Beni-Hana in San Diego, and I worked there and got to meet Rocky Aoki, and I worked for that company for 3 years, man, and I learned, how to engage with people and engage. One of my coming to the gods thing, is when I later on in life, I used to cook for Jelly Bean Bryant. Joe Bryant got transferred. He got traded from the Philadelphia 76ers to San Diego, and he used to come to Beni-Hana all the time. And he came with his wife and his kids. And there's one kid, man, he was like 3 years old. This guy was bouncing all over the Teflon table. I go, hey, kid, come on, man. And I go, hey, JB, what's your son's name? His name's Kobe, man. Kobe, wow. Kobe like in C-O-B-Y? No, it's K-O-B-E. I love Kobe beef, so I named my son after him. And sure enough, 3 years old, I met Kobe, man.
Kobe,
and later
wow.
on, he was bouncing around the table at that time, man. And look who, look who he became.
That's a cool story, man.
Yeah. So Beni-Hana, I did that, and then I moved on to go work for this guy who, once again, I had a lot of great mentors, Ponch, in life, and I went to go work with this guy who has a restaurant to this day in San Diego, and I respect him from my heart. His name was Chef Ota, O-T-A. He has a restaurant in Mission Beach, and I worked for him, and he taught me the seriousness of Japanese cuisine, the serenity and the purity, and taught me that. And from going from a comic circus atmosphere at Beni-Hana to learning the serenity of Japanese cuisine is that allowed me to take this journey of my food a little bit more serious. And so I worked for him, and then I got recruited to LA in 1984. I got before that I had a little shop at the Bacchanal nightclub, man.
I remember that one. Yeah, I went to one of those. Remember the band was popular back then was the Beat Farmers.
That's right, man. That's right. The Beat Farmers. It was a stage where they had live act, and then I had a little sushi bar in there.
I remember it, dude. I remember it.
That was a great gig, but I did that for about a couple years, and worked in the Bacchanal nightclub, making sushi. And at that time, it was a mod, Depeche Mode era. So I had the crazy hair and the jewelry and the 14 earrings.
Human League.
Exactly.
Not quite Boy George, though, right? You're not
No,
quite.
I wasn't on that side, buddy. Come on, man.
Not quite fine.
So
Right,
I did that, making sushi over there at Bacchanal nightclub. And here's the thing about the Bacchanal nightclub, and this was 84ish or so, is I learned how to raise money. I was 24 years old. I learned the art of raising money. I didn't have the money at that time, so I raised money with my mom and her friends, and raised money. And I opened up the Sonosan Express, and I did not know that at that time, but that later on allowed me to go and raise money for big funds that came on later in my life. But that's when I started learning how to raise money, to take responsibility, to have fiduciary responsibilities among myself.
Now, did you think of yourself as a businessman at that point, or more of just a chef that was going to go from the heart and do his thing?
I was thinking slowly. I was engaged in the quality of food, but I was also engaging that, man, if I make money, I could get the hot girls here, So obviously that didn't work out.
Isn't that all of our goals,
exactly.
right?
But that never worked out, man. I went home and took cold showers every single night, which was okay. But I ended up making a business out of it. And learning how to raise money, learning about food, learning how to, pinch pennies as a business guy. And then I came to Los Angeles. I got recruited from a restaurant recruitment company. I came up and said, hey, listen, we have a management gig. You speak Japanese, you're American Japanese, speak Japanese. Well, we have this sushi bar in Los Angeles. We would like you to come up here and work for them. And so I took a trip up to LA from San Diego. And at that time, it was the #1 sushi bar back in '84. It just started when sushi trend was climbing up, and it was just getting started. It was right across from the CBS studio in Studio City. At that time, it was a CBS studio. It was called Terra Sushi. So I joined that company as the general manager. So I went from the back of the house and went into the front of the house. And that allowed me to, learn some of the business aspects of it, about quote unquote management 101. And so, at that time I worked at this sushi bar, Terra Sushi, and there was Howie Mandel used to come in, Denzel Washington used to come in, Marcus Allen from the Raiders, Sugar Ray Leonard. There was a celebrity hub of sushi bar, and then you know what? I realized that, man, I'm in Hollywood, man. I started rubbing elbows and making buddies, and I became this face of this business. I realized that, man, in order for me to become, maybe one day I can have a restaurant, I need to be the face of the business. So I started, rubbing elbows with the stars here in LA, and that kind of catapulted me into understanding that, it's not only what I know, it's who I know in the business. And so I used that to my advantage. And I went on to work for Chaya, for 5 years. And here's the thing about mentorship. Like, I worked for this guy named Yuji Tsunoda. God bless him. I love that guy to this day. He ended up becoming my boss at Chaya. I worked my way up from manager to general manager, and became the research and development manager for him, because he liked how I thought, my creative minds. But I became the research and development manager, worked for him for 5 years. And he ended up taking a gig in Japan. He was the CEO. He ended up becoming, he got a gig with this guy from Seattle. Said, hey, help me open up some coffee shops in Japan. And it was the Starbucks. He became the CEO of Starbucks in Japan. So he went from 0 locations to 500 locations. And this is the guy that I worked with. And I got to learn a lot of business aspects from that man. And so he ended up going to Japan. I ended up leaving. And this is where, the starstruck thing and everything started coming together. After I left Yuji Tsunoda, I ended up, taking the time off and traveling a little bit. Went to Jamaica and went to Hong Kong, and by this time I went to Paris, and I realized that, God, man, there's more to food. There's more to this business that I'm starting to get myself engaged into, And I went to go work I knocked on his door. I went to go work for this guy, or actually I asked this guy named Nobu Matsuhisa. Nobu, hey Nobu, I'm looking for a job. I'll be glad to come in and start off from zero and work my way up. And he goes, no, I don't have anything right now, but maybe I'll give you a call back. Well, that night he called me. I remember it was a Saturday. That night he goes, hey, can you work tomorrow, Sunday? I go, sure, Nobu. Yeah, just wear a white shirt and black pants and comb your hair back just like this. And I went to, and I showed up on his doorstep, and I started working for this guy named Nobu
Did he know you at all?
Matsuhisa. Yeah, of course. He used to frequent me when I was at Chaya.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So
he
you
knew
knew
of
him.
me.
Okay.
He
Okay.
knew
Got
of
it.
me,
Okay.
and I knew of him. And but I didn't know that he became who he
Yeah.
was.
So
He
you
only
weren't a
had one
stranger.
shop.
Yeah. He only did one restaurant. Yeah. Okay. So
He
you
only
were
had
some.
one shop in Beverly Hills, Punch, and it was called Matsuhisa. So I became the general manager there. When I became the general manager there, he had a lot of college students, wearing tennis shoes and dirty white shoes and
Oh man.
hairs all over. And I go, man, we need to institutionalize this thing, man. We need to get this thing straightened up because this food was tight.
Yeah.
But his front of the house was like, a motley crew of, just riffraffs. And I said, let's straighten this thing out. So I straightened out the service aspect of it from my experience at Chaya, from what I learned from Yuji Tsunoda, what I learned from Rocky Aoki. I started institutionalizing things. I put it was a 30 wine, red wine, 30 white wine list. I institutionalized a wine list with California, premium Meritage wines and Bordeaux and Burgundies. And I tightened up his white wine list, and you know what? I made it into something that I felt proud of working. And he was always tight with this guy named Robert De Niro. And he goes, Michael,
Who's
you
that?
know what? Exactly. And he used to come in quite a bit. And Robert used to, Mr. De Niro used to always frequent Nobu and say, hey, we need to open up one of these things in New York. We need to open up one of these things in New York. And Nobu was a one-unit operator in Beverly Hills, but yet I was his manager. And, and one day Nobu goes, hey, Michael, we're going to New York. I go, huh? You going to New York? We're going to go meet Mr. De Niro, and he has a location. This was, I think, God, was it 1991, I think, 1991. Jumped on the plane with Nobu and went to New York, sat across the table, went to Tribeca. I was here, Nobu was here, Mr. De Niro was there, and Drew Nieperent, who I respect to this day as a true restaurateur that, I also use him as my mentor. We sat at the table of four and looked at this location, former bank building, and Nobu goes, God, I like this location. Yeah, Nobu, I want to put a restaurant in here, says Mr. De Niro. Make a deal. And we looked at each other, make a deal, And I said, time out. And Nobu, let's do this, X, Y, Z. And just like that guy in the Tom Cruise in that movie was that with Show Me the Money. I forgot what that movie is called. I made the deal right there at the table without even thinking. It just came out natural. I go, well, how about this X salary, this percentage, this many times back to New York, first class airfare, yada yada yada. I just like blurted it out like it came from God. And they looked at me, Mr. De Niro and Drew looked at me, and Nobu looked at me, and they go, sounds like a good deal. Let us think about it. And sure enough, that was the beginning of who, a lot of people say, that deal that I cut for Nobu, and then it led to the deal in New York. And now Nobu's he does $450 million annually, international restaurateur. But I was there from the get-go, and and it worked out for him, and it worked out for me because I got to work with Nobu and traveled around the world with him and worked for him for 5 years. And
so you were the Cuba Gooding of that meeting, right? Show me the money.
Show me the, yeah, exactly. Well, I was the Tom Cruise. I put that deal together.
You were the Tom. That's right. That's right. You were the agent.
That's right. And you know what, Ponch? You know what? I learned how to diversify under pressure. That allowed me to diversify, economize, monetize under pressure, and I became, was able to be my own boss along with my partners. In '97, as I worked 5 years for Nobu, I had this tremendous business opportunity, and a lot of it, it's not about, education is important, honesty, integrity is important, Ponch, but also luck. Luck is very important in my business, in my life. And so one day I was playing golf by myself. I had the day off. I had Sunday, Mondays off. I was a general manager, Matsuhisa. This thing was humming, business was good. I was out playing golf one day by myself at Griffith Park. I remember this very good, vividly. This dude was playing with me. He goes, "Hey, what do you do, man?" And I go, I manage a Japanese restaurant." "Really? What restaurant?" "Matsuhisa." "Wow, that's the number one Zagat maggot, that number one restaurant in Zagat for 6 years in a row. You're the..." "Yeah, I'm the general manager." "I love sushi." "Okay, all right, nice to meet you. Here's my card. Give me a buzz." Luck, Pancho. Is a couple days later, this guy calls me in the middle of lunch rush, says, "Hello, I don't think you know me, but we need to talk." I go, "What? Like, what was it, the IRS? What is
that? The guy from Japan finally caught up with you, right?
Exactly, Guido from New York or whoever it was. But we need to talk. I go, "Yeah," he said, "I'm busy, sir. Let me get your name and number." So I wrote his name and number, put it in my apron, and I was working the lunch shift, running around, taking care of people, serving people. After lunch shift, as I'm pouring out, all the paperwork and my chump change, my dollar bills and all that, counting up my money, phone number pops up. I go, "Oh, that's right. I call this number." I called this number, and sure enough, it was this guy that says, "Hey, you don't know me, but I have this location on 3rd Street, right next to the Beverly Center. I have this location. I need somebody to help me open up a Japanese restaurant. I have I have the location, but I don't understand how to operate a restaurant. I need the professional." And sure enough, met a couple times for coffee. And this is where it says, what? Sometimes luck meets reality. And I took a chance, Pancho. I took that chance and got together with my partners in '97. Opened up the restaurant with $300,000. We had to go raise money. We didn't have money, We raised $300,000 the first restaurant back in '97. $300,000 with investors, a motley crew of investors. The first year we did $4.8 million in sales out of a $300,000, and that's where things, luck and skill and just the stars and the moons aligning. It just started firing up, and we opened up another location.
What was that restaurant? What was the first one?
The first one was called Sushi Roku.
Right.
Sushi Roku. 23 years ago, I've had my company with my partners. 23 years ago in '97,
No, go ahead. No, so real quick. So I've been to that original Sushi Roku. They're 3rd in La Cienega, if I remember correctly, around near the Beverly Center.
Correct.
And remind me, because I know you told me this before. There was salt on the step right before you came in. And what's the salt significance?
You know what? We had. I'm into spiritual. Of course, I have my God that I believe in, and something greater than myself that I believe in. But spirits and karma, I believe that that is important to me. The feng shui of life, and one of the feng shuis and the way to ward off good and bad spirits is. Salt, we put it at the entrance. You mix salt and you put it at the entrance of a restaurant, entrance of a business, and that wards off negative spirits and allows prosperity to come in. So it's kind of a thing that I do at all my restaurants now, and it just brings in positive vibes and wards off negative, evil spirits from coming in.
So go over that. You with your partners, you opened up Sushi Roku, the original. Then you said you had another one. So how did that? Roll it out, man. What have you guys done?
Yeah. So 97 opened up the first Sushi Roku. Like I said, we did 300,000 investment. We did $4.8 million, 120% return on the dollar. The investors were like, "Yeah, my God!" And I was like, and I knew this could happen. Partners like, "Is this real, Mike?" And I go, "Yeah, man, this is real." And then the next restaurant, by this time, our investors wanted to, "Hey, you need to open up more. You need to open up more." We ended up getting, guys like Tori Spellings and Ryan Seacrest to be our investors, and we rolled up the second location in Santa Monica, 600,000. Opened it up, and I think we ended up doing like 4.5, 5 million, and we just kind of from there, just kind of the magic started happening. You know, we're still pinching pennies. You know, we had a very lean and mean back of the office crew, and you know, we started bringing in some good people in there. I ended up bringing in my brothers, you know, some of my good guys that I had in the past, you know, because, you know, your vibes are your tribes, you know, and I had to bring in some good people, and we opened up Santa Monica. That was location number 2. We opened up Pasadena, Sushi Roku Pasadena, a couple of years later. And then we wanted to diversify, just like anything in life. You know, we didn't want to roll, you know, everything in on this Sushi Roku concept. Started talking about, you know, maybe we need to, you know, bring steakhouses, you know, not your old, the steakhouses with the, you know, the big red booths and, you know, the old smoky cigar, you know, things that we had way back when. We kind of sexied up a steakhouse, and we put in a 40-day dry aged steak, cool servers, you know, and remember, this is Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, you know, you know, style. Yeah, exactly. Style is substance, you know, and so we had to, you know, get these guys to, you know, the good-looking guys and good-looking gals to run our steakhouses, and sure enough, man, we got a steakhouse going, and that hit. You know, it was and our stick was, you know, the 40-day dry aged steak. It was you know, you either have dry aged steak or you had wet aged steak. For me, I'm a firm believer in dry aged steak. That's how the cowboys used to eat it. The dry aged steak was about making sure that you know, you dry age the steak, and you know, that funk and that nuttiness and that smell, and you know, that's a good tasting steak, instead of putting it in a cryovac you know, bag and letting it you know, age in its own blood. It starts becoming milly and it becomes soft, and you know, some steakhouses do that. But for us, it was about dry aged steak, and so that was our steak. So we did the dry aged steak restaurant called Boa, and then we ended up doing a Robata. Partners never been to Japan. By this time, we had 3 locations. I took the partners to Japan and said, "Hey, let's look at this Robata concept." You know, it was a skewer concept, and brought that concept to the United States, and opened up a restaurant called Katana. And the theme of Katana, obviously, we had sushi too, because sushi boom was just taking off like a rocket. You know, it was going into the 4th dimension, and we ended up opening up along with the the sushi. We added a new component to bring in the masses, and that was the skewers, and that's what we did. Yeah. So, hello.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So that's what we did. We opened up Katana, and then we opened up Sushi Roku Las Vegas. And by this time, we got to about $65-70 million in annual sales. So I went from a hokey pokey country bumpkin here to, you know, the partners turned into, you know, a company, and God bless, you know, for the past 15 years, we've been doing about $65 million in annual sales a year. And so that's my innovative dining company. With that, just like the Beatles, man, the 4 of us, you know, I wanted to diversify, and I started wanting to play my own music. I branched off a little bit on my own, and I opened up this company called Passion Projects. I got to open up the Lazy Ox Canteen, Toronoko Fat Spoon, Taberna. I did my little things on the side, and some of them made money, some of them didn't make money, but I did the Passion Project. So, you know what, I'm, you know, I'm a lucky for me to this day, Pancho, I have this thing called the Golden Goose. The innovative dining allows me to do the beautiful things in life. You know, the fruit keeps, the duck keeps, you know, laying the golden eggs, but yet I also get to play my own music with my passion projects, and now I have, you know.
So you celebrate. I mean, you're able to celebrate your success and go out and do some cool concepts now, but you're still tied. I mean, you're still innovative dining, right? That's still like a you're a part of the management and the partnership and all that. Great. And then I've been to a couple of your not all the concepts. I know I've been to it's Lazy Ox, right?
Yeah, it was in downtown. It was in
downtown.
Yeah, that was a great concept. That was I don't have that anymore. It's in the kind of a dangerous area, I guess you can say. It's the outskirts of downtown.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they took the parking lot away, and then next thing you know, when they do that, people, I get less customers. So, you know, I had to shut that down. But that was also an innovator of gastro cuisine. I started, and this is the thing about me, Punch, is that I like to start things, and I like to get things going, and you know, and that was that spearheaded the gastropub movement in Los Angeles. That Lazy Ox, to this day, I have people saying, Michael, you need to open up another Lazy Ox. You know, you need that. That one, when we did that with my former chef, kind of spearheaded this thing called the gastropub, or the small plates movement. And yeah, so I had that restaurant and, a couple here along the way. And then now I got this thing. I got together with my partner, Gabriel Barajas of Tacos Way, and we're doing a Mexican sushi bar. And here's the thing going for full circle, Sponge. And
okay, well, let's hold 1 second on that, because I want to just back up for 1 second. So
yeah, of course.
The of you being a builder, I just want to go over that real quick, or someone that builds something. So, because a theme, I'm looking back as you described your journey in the restaurant business, as you went to Beni-Hana, you became a chef, you were successful, you built some relationships, you gathered mentors. So it looks like all these different not locations, but all these different points in your journey have you were building something.
Absolutely.
Like at Nobu, you helped Nobu build his brand and go global, and then Innovative Dining Group, you built a restaurant from a concept. So there's a lot of literature and research, if you talk to people who do this for a living, of people who are builders, they get a little anxious, they kind of, and I kind of look at that. I love to build something, but then I want to move on and build something else. I don't want to sit and do the same thing all the time. I kind of see that. Yeah, that's you. And I see this in your journey, and you've been a builder, and you've built very successful restaurants and concepts, and then you have these passion projects. And as people who build, not everything is gonna work, right? I mean, you kind of hit miss on stuff. So I just wanted to cover that real quick, because I see that builder mentality that you have, and the creativity, but not just that. You brought others into your mindset. It's like, hey man, I've got ideas, but let's bring the creativity. Let's form a partnership. You have a mentor that maybe gave you some advice. That dude back in the day at Beni-Hana that said, hey man, Mike, get serious,
Yeah.
So I just wanted to cover that real quick before you, because I know you have things are going now. So good.
Yeah, let me tell you about that, Pancha, and thank you for bringing that up, because nowadays with this, the world has changed again, with this coronavirus thing, and the word I like to use is diversify, and then now the word is, diversify was that word, but now it's called pivot, and you're pivoting in business, and I pivot, or I diversify. I get diversification ideas by looking at to being on ground floor. You have to be on ground in my business, in the restaurant business, and you have to be on ground floor. You got to see what the Joneses are doing. You got to see what the trends are. You got to go to the farms, which I like to go to the farms here, or the wineries out here, and I have to see what's going on. And for me, I like to do I like to see what the young kids are doing. It's about the youth. The youth movement, Punch, is so vital in growth and diversification. And so I see that, I learn from that. I talk to young people, I connect with young people, and I connect with my staff about about the changing trends. And that's where I think is important, Punch, is that learning how to pivot. You can't get into, I can't get into this mode. Sometimes the goddamn shitty committee gets in my head, and I got to do it the old-fashioned way. I got to do it my way or the highway. Remember how we used to do that? It's not like that anymore, Pancho. And I was like that. I'm a very stubborn, and my way the highway. When that committee gets in my head, it's my way only. But nowadays, man, Punch, the young kids, the young generation, the young movement, and that's where bread, our meat and potatoes is at. You got to make that pivot in life, so.
Well, I like how you say, like, get on the ground floor and go out, and you got to go out and watch and speak to people. And,
exactly.
It reminds me of, there was this Marine Corps general who was just a great leader, who gave his kind of advice all the time was, and he was a pilot. He would say, hey man, don't sit in your office. Go watch, go walk the flight line.
Exactly.
Go talk to Corporal Smuckatelli and ask
Yeah,
him
yeah,
what he's doing and is
yep,
he okay and
yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff. So that leadership concept is just so important to get out to the ground floor, talk to the
absolutely.
people working, know what they're doing, figure out what they're thinking, because often it helps you out.
Absolutely, Punch. It is so important to this day, and even more so now with this crazy world that we live in, man. You know what? And yeah, of course, it's a crazy new world that we're going to be living, but it's also the brave new world, Pancho. And so we got to be out there. You know what? Right now, I got with my BOA, I introduced them to this mail order. We're going to start shipping hopefully steaks nationwide. They can order from online and ship it nationwide, curbside sushi pickup, curbside burger pickup, all that stuff is about making, adjustments we got to, number one, figure it out, we got to figure it out, adapt, and we got to live by that adjustment, and if it doesn't work, you got to keep pivoting, you got to keep making adjustments to making sure that it economizes, and monetizes. And then, otherwise, what? We're going to be behind on the times. But being on ground floor, Pancho, especially now in my business, the restaurant business, seeing what the other people are doing, I got to be on the ground floor.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you started talking about a new concept you got coming out. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah. The new concept, I don't know. I got this thing that being a Mexican Japanese guy born and raised in Japan, my dad from Taos, New Mexico. I wish, Ruben Lorenzo Cardenas could see this concept. It's,
I knew your father. So
that's right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you. It's going to be, we're going to be opening this thing up in Ventura County in Oxnard, right in the middle of the farming community there. It's going to be a Mexican sushi bar with my partner. He has these restaurants called Tacos Way, and he's this Instagram guru, restaurateur, business guy. I'm partnering with him to do a sushi. I'm the sushi king, so I'm going to do this sushi bar with them in Oxnard in the farming community. I think it's going to be 80% Hispanic, Mexican, Latin community, and we're going to have 75% sushi, Japanese food, 25% tacos, mariachi bandas, those type of bands, 5 nights a week. It's the hoopla, michelada, hoochie mama, the dance that we're going to do. One of those guys. Yeah,
you got to have hoochie mamas. If you don't have hoochie
mamas. Exactly.
Now, what's a menu item, man? So is there, are you mixing it, or is it just like there's sushi and there's tacos, or is there something that you mix up and give me a menu item, man?
Yeah, just give you the menu item, the sushi way. It's going to be called sushi, SUSHIAWA. So, I'm sorry, SUSHIWAY, sushi way, like olare way.
Orale way. Oh, orale way. Oh, that's where the way comes from.
That's right.
Oh, I was wondering what the way was about.
Orale way. Exactly. So it's going to be called sushi way with our guy Gabriel Barajas, and it's going to be the California roll with jalapenos, the shrimp tempura roll with the agua chili sauce. It's going to be the what is it called? The Sancho roll with Cheetos on top. We're gonna so we're gonna do catered towards, like I said, like I told you, it's going to be catered towards the Hispanic community. So it's going to be a little bit more, full flavor, firecrackers in your palate. And yet we're going to have the yellowtail with jalapenos and, the ceviches and the shrimp cocktail and the agua chilies and, the micheladas with the shrimp and the, all that stuff. So, and of course, don't forget Modelo. So we're going to have all that stuff.
Little shameless plug for Modelo. So this chef, so he already has a Tacos Way restaurant, you're saying?
Yes.
So he has that concept. So this is Sushi's Way. So, or Sushi Way. You got to
Sushi
say it right, man.
way. You gotta
Sushi
say it
way.
right. Come
You got to
on,
say it right.
man.
Sushi
Come
way.
on. Not the Espanol accent.
No,
The
no, no,
Mexican
Mexican.
accent.
Yo,
That's
no, hablo como un mexicano, hombre.
right. Where's your sombrero, buddy?
I can sort of do that Mexican accent a little bit, but yeah, I
Yeah.
remember hearing the kids go away, and it's
Yep.
kind of a more, yeah, it's interesting. So
Yeah.
and then I understand you've got another the tacos way. Is there something else you're doing with that?
Yeah. So anyway, the Sushi Way, we're supposed to open up in June because all this thing, kind of pushed us back. We're going to open up probably mid-July or so. So that's on its way, construction, and thank God. I don't know if it's too early or what, but you know, construction is at full steam ahead in Oxnard, and we should be able to open up in Ventura County anytime soon. So that's a
Nice.
blessing in disguise. But here's another one that I did is, I put a deal together with Gabriel, and we got a Japanese management company, a Japanese investor, to open up Tacos Way in Tokyo. It was supposed to open up on April 16th, but this thing hit, and it's in this. We're capitalizing off of we're going to try to capitalize off of the Olympic that's coming to Japan.
That's
It's
right.
in the hub of Tokyo, off of
Oh,
near Tokyo Station, in an area called Toranomon, and the Mexican restaurant it is going to be called Tacos Way. And so that one's
wow.
already built up, ready to go. It was ready to open up on April 16th, but then,
Yeah.
the world came to a halt, and we'll get
Huh.
this thing going. But it's going to be Tacos Way. So we're going to roll out a bunch of Tacos Way,
Awesome.
serving tacos in Japan, sushi, Mexican sushi in the States. And I think that's how I'm going to pivot right now, and then
Awesome.
make full circles with my
Yeah.
nationality. I never thought about this, Ponch, is that, I was doing this serious, conservative, or yet, sometimes a left, wing Japanese restaurant. I was doing these, cool Japanese restaurants here in the States with a little American love and, a sexiness to it. But now I'm going to took full circles, a Mexican Japanese restaurant, and doing tacos in Tokyo. So that's what
Awesome.
that's what my life brought me to, is that,
Yeah.
like I told you, is diversifying and making the pivots, and making adjustments. And here I
And
am. Yeah,
and you continue being a builder. You continue to build, man.
yeah,
And it's
trying.
cool. Now, so let's do this. So you've got a bunch of, you've got a lot of irons in the fire, my man. And
Thank you.
like I said, and for listeners, I've known Mike and his family since 1973. I mean, mom, brothers, sister. I mean, I know the whole deal, man.
Love you.
We've been tight, and we've seen each other often enough over the years. And I learned something today of some different things. So, I mean, from Yokohama and YoHi and rubbing elbows with Mr. De Niro and Nobu, but it's all awesome stuff, man. I'd love to
Yeah,
hear it.
thank
And
you, Punch.
but I want to give you opportunity to tell the listeners where they can engage with your restaurants and concepts. Like is there a website for the Sushi Roku group, and
Yeah,
well, in your personal social media. So I put these out on social media, and I
thank you,
encourage you to do the same on
thank
your
you,
on your social. And so give us all your kind of where people can find you and
thank
find
you.
your concepts.
And thank you, Pancho. And really, like I said, it was an honor, man. And this is the thing about the military brats growing up in Japan. We grew up together. We played sports together. We hung out, and we did all the crazy things in Japan. And then we went out and did our own life. You went to the Naval Academy and became a United States Marine. And God bless you for the services that you did.
Thank you, sir.
But as we, sometimes we don't keep in touch. But when we get together, it's like, Pancho, when I talk to you, it seems like I'm just talking to my
That's right.
childhood
It's like,
friend, And
exactly.
so you know what? The thing about it is, in my business, that allows me to be, and I don't like the word, this success thing, allows me to be who I am, is, when
Mhm.
when shit don't go right, man, go left and good things happen. Just go left and keep going left. And good things happen. And that's my word of recommendation as a business guy, is that choose your attitude in the morning, do your routine. And like I said, when things don't go right, go left and good things happen. But my new project, Sushi Way, will be opening up in July in Oxnard. with my partner Gabriel Barajas. So that should be exciting. Tacos Way in Tokyo should be opening up anytime we open up, Japan, and that's going to be in Toranomon. And that's you could see it at Tacos Way on Instagram. And for myself, it's Mr. Mr. Sushi Mike, small cap, Mr. Sushi Mike on Instagram. And please follow me, and you'll see what's going on with our, our restaurants, and innovativedining.com. That's there. So, if you want to know about Sushi Roku in Los Angeles, Scottsdale, or Las Vegas, you can keep track with that. But I appreciate you having me on today, Pancho, man. It's an honor. I'm blessed to know you, man, know your family, and thank you, man. Thank you for having me on, buddy.
I'll say the same thing. It's been an honor to be a friend, your friend, and a friend of all your family. It's been fun. It's been cool to see everybody's journey and being able to plug in and see you every once in a while to have a drink and reminisce and have some good time. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the Pancho podcast. And Mike, you have a great day.
Thank you. Be safe, Pancho. Love you, man.
Yeah, love you. Take care.